doing a story on her being in Hawaii with Papoose, right? And Papoose' side chick allegedly popped up and said, I'm in Hawaii, same pretty too. Now, Remy Ma has already spilled the wine on Claressa not being the only one.
Stop everything, because what you're about to hear isn't just drama. It's a full-blown detonation that's ripping through sports, celebrity culture, and everything people thought they knew about one of the most untouchable names in the game. Because the moment Tasha K went live, the internet didn't just react. It collapsed. What she claimed to have uncovered about Claressa Shields isn't just controversial. It's career-shaking, reputation-shattering, and so explosive that insiders are now saying this could permanently change how the world sees her. We're talking hidden messages, secret recordings, alleged payments that were never meant to be traced, and a storyline so twisted, so layered, that fans are now questioning everything they thought was real. Because according to what's being exposed, the image of the undefeated champion, and might not be the full story, and the most chilling part, this didn't come from nowhere. This came from inside. People who were there. People who allegedly helped build that image and are now ready to tear it down. And once those names started surfacing, everything got darker, because now it's not just about what happened. It's about who knew, who stayed silent, and who's about to start talking next. Because trust me, what's already leaked, that's nothing compared to what's coming. And if even half of these claims turn out to be real, this won't just be a scandal. It'll be a complete unraveling. The moment Tasha K hit go live, the internet didn't just tune in, it braced itself. Because when she leans forward like that, when her voice drops just a little lower than usual, people know something heavy is about to land. And this time, it wasn't just heavy, it was explosive. She didn't waste time, didn't build slowly. She went straight in, claiming that the public image of Claressa Shields, the champion, the survivor, the unstoppable force, was only part of the story. And according to her, the rest of that story had been carefully controlled, edited, protected, and hidden. That alone, it sent shockwaves across every platform, because Claressa's story wasn't just admired, it was believed, deeply, by fans, by brands, by people who saw her as more than an athlete. So when Tasha said the words manufactured narrative, everything shifted. Within minutes, clips from the live stream were everywhere, cut up, reposted, analysed, and one particular moment, it hit harder than anything else. When Tasha leaned in and said, "You don't become that perfect without somebody cleaning it up for you." That line, it detonated. Because now, the conversation wasn't just about Claressa. It was about who might have been behind the scenes, helping, shaping, and possibly hiding things. And then came the first name, not loudly, not dramatically, but clearly enough to be heard. Ciara, a name that, until that moment, had been floating quietly in the background of rumours. But now, it was front and centre, because according to Tasha, Ciara wasn't just part of the story, she helped build it, allegedly working behind the scenes, branding, positioning, controlling how Claressa was presented to the world, crafting the image, polishing the narrative, making sure everything aligned perfectly. And if that's true, then what people saw wasn't entirely organic. It was designed. And that realization, it hit hard. But Tasha didn't stop there. She kept going. And what came next took things to another level, because she claimed the relationship between Claressa and Ciara didn't just end, it exploded. Over money, unpaid promises, and something she described as a deal that went bad. Then she held up what looked like a document, blurry on screen, but clear enough to make out one phrase: termination settlement. That phrase, it changed everything. Because now this wasn't just about image, it was about money, transactions, agreements, and possibly silence being bought. The chat went wild, viewers flooding the comments. Is that hush money? What are we looking at right now? This is crazy. And within seconds, and screenshots of that moment were circulating everywhere. Zoomed in, enhanced, dissected like evidence in a courtroom. Meanwhile, Claressa Shields remained completely silent. No tweets, no response, no denial. And that silence, it didn't calm anything down. It amplified it. Because people expected pushback, expected a reaction, but instead, they got nothing. And nothing feels like something. Then came the next drop, audio. According to Tasha, a voice note, short, but enough. A woman's voice, tense, controlled, saying, "You're not about to ruin what I built." And another voice, quieter but firm, responding, "It's already ruined." That exchange, it froze the internet. Because now this wasn't just accusation, it was confrontation. And if real, it meant things had already reached a breaking point long before this livestream. Meanwhile, old clips started resurfacing. Interviews, press appearances, moments where Claressa spoke about her journey, her struggles, her rise, and suddenly, people were rewatching them differently. Not with admiration, but with questions. Looking for inconsistencies, pauses, details that didn't quite align. Because once doubt enters the picture, everything gets re-examined. Then came another twist. And this one, nobody expected, because Tasha brought up something from years ago. An incident that had never fully made headlines. Allegedly, a report, a situation that was handled quietly. No details confirmed, no official records shown, but enough suggestion to spark a storm. And once that was out, the internet exploded again, because now people weren't just questioning the present, they were digging into the past, searching for anything, any clue, any piece of information that could connect the dots. And then, another name surfaced, Papoose. And suddenly the story got even more complicated, because according to Tasha, he wasn't just connected to the situation. He allegedly introduced Sierra into Claressa's world. A connection that, if true, tied everything together. Image, relationships, business, and now, fallout. And that connection? It raised even more questions. Because if he was involved from the beginning, then how deep does this go? And who else knew? Meanwhile, social media turned into chaos. Hashtags trending, fans divided. Some defending Claressa fiercely, calling it lies, smear campaigns, clout chasing. Others, they weren't so sure, because the details felt too specific, too layered, too consistent. And that's when celebrity reactions started creeping in. A subtle at first, a like here, a cryptic tweet there, but enough to keep the fire burning. Because in moments like this, silence isn't neutral, it's strategic. And everyone seemed to be choosing theirs carefully. But just when it felt like Tasha had said enough, she leaned in one more time, looked straight into the camera, and said something that stopped everything. "I haven't even played the real recording yet." That line? It didn't just land, it echoed, because now everything people had heard so far felt like a preview. And the idea that there was something worse, something clearer, something undeniable, it changed the stakes completely. And just before ending the stream, she dropped one final sentence. When this next one drops, there's no coming back. And if that's true, then what we've seen so far might only be the beginning. The moment that stream ended, the internet didn't calm down. It fractured. Because now it wasn't just about what had been said. It was about what hadn't been played yet. That real recording. Those 4 words sat heavy on every timeline, every comment section, every group chat. People weren't scrolling anymore. They were waiting, refreshing, watching for the next drop like it was a countdown to something irreversible. And then, the chaos multiplied. Because within hours, anonymous accounts started surfacing. Not verified, not familiar, but posting things that felt too specific to ignore. Blurry screenshots, partial message threads, fragments of conversations that hinted at something much bigger happening behind the scenes. One message in particular went viral instantly. Make sure she sticks to the story. That line? It didn't feel casual. It felt coordinated, like there was a version of events that needed to be protected, maintained, repeated. And suddenly, the narrative shifted again. Because now this wasn't just about exaggeration. It was about control. And controlling a story means there's something to protect. Meanwhile, Claressa Shields was still completely silent. No posts, no clarifications, no pushback. And that silence, it was starting to feel louder than anything Tasha had said, because the longer she didn't respond, the more space there was for speculation to grow. And it grew fast. Then came the next leak. And this one, it didn't come from Tasha. It came from someone claiming to be close to the situation. A voice memo, longer, clearer, and far more unsettling. The voice, distorted slightly, but still emotional, said, "I helped build that image, and now I'm done protecting it." That sentence, it didn't just spread, it detonated, because now it sounded like confirmation, like someone from inside was stepping out. And if that was true, then everything Tasha had been hinting at started to feel a lot more real. The memo continued, mentioning contracts, appearances, and something referred to as approved talking points. And that phrase, it changed everything. Because now people weren't just questioning authenticity, they were questioning scripting, planning, whether parts of Claressa's public story had been rehearsed, structured, delivered in a way that wasn't entirely natural. And once that idea hit, there was no going back. Meanwhile, social media turned into a battlefield, supporters defending her legacy, critics tearing it apart, threads breaking down timelines, comparing old interviews, highlighting moments that suddenly felt off, too polished, too consistent, too perfect. And perfection started to look suspicious. Then came another twist, because Tasha K returned, unannounced, no countdown, no teaser, just live again. And this time, she didn't talk first, she pressed play, the recording, the one she warned about. And the moment it started, you could feel it, different tone, different energy. This wasn't vague, this wasn't suggestive, this was direct. A conversation between two voices clear enough to follow. One voice, believed by many to be Claressa, sounding frustrated. "I told you to handle it before it got messy." And the other voice, calm, almost detached, responding, "You said it was under control." That exchange? It froze everything. Because it suggested awareness. Not innocence, not confusion. Awareness. And awareness changes the entire narrative. Then came the line that sent shockwaves through every platform. "If this comes out, it's not just me." That sentence, it shifted the focus instantly, because now it wasn't just about one person, it was about others. People connected, people involved, people who might also be exposed. And suddenly, the story expanded. Because scandals like this, they don't stay contained. They spread. They pull more names in, more details, more secrets. And that's exactly what started happening, because right after that recording dropped, another name surfaced, Remy Ma. Not directly accused, not clearly connected, but mentioned enough in speculation to spark another wave of chaos. Old clips resurfaced. Old comments reanalyzed. Moments that once meant nothing, now being looked at like clues. And the internet? It went deeper, because now people weren't just watching, they were investigating. Meanwhile, insiders began speaking again, quietly, anonymously, but consistently, claiming that behind the scenes, things were unraveling fast. Management teams scrambling, lawyers getting involved, conversations happening that weren't meant to leave private rooms. And the pressure? It was building, because at this point, This wasn't just about reputation, it was about damage control. And damage control only happens when there's damage. Then came another screenshot, this one more direct, allegedly showing a message sent late at night. Tell her to stay offline. That line? It explained everything. Because suddenly, Claressa's silence didn't feel like choice, it felt like instruction. And that realization, it hit hard, because now people weren't just asking why she wasn't speaking, they were asking who didn't want her to, and why. Meanwhile, the public reaction kept escalating. Celebrities subtly weighing in, fans demanding answers, media outlets picking up the story, turning whispers into headlines. And once mainstream attention hits, there's no stopping it. But just when it felt like everything had already been exposed, one final twist dropped, and this one changed everything again, because an anonymous source released a short clip. Video, not audio, not text. Actual footage, grainy, dimly lit, but clear enough. 2 figures. In conversation, one pacing, the other sitting. And the voice matching the recording, saying one chilling line, "We're past fixing this now." That sentence, it didn't just land, it echoed, because it suggested finality, like whatever had been happening behind the scenes had already gone too far and couldn't be undone. And just before the clip ended, another line slipped through, faint, but unmistakable. They're going to find out everything. And if that's true, then what's already come out is just the beginning. The moment that last clip ended, everything changed. Not slowly, not quietly, instantly. Because once people heard, they're going to find out everything, the entire internet shifted from speculation to expectation. Expectation that something even bigger was coming. Something final. Something that wouldn't just shake the story, but end it. And that's when the floodgates opened. Because within hours, more accounts started posting, not just hints, not just vague claims, detailed timelines, step-by-step breakdowns of how this entire situation allegedly unfolded behind the scenes. People claiming they were there. People claiming they saw contracts. People claiming they had conversations that were never meant to leave private rooms. And suddenly, it wasn't one voice anymore. It was multiple, echoing the same themes: control, image, protection, and eventually, collapse. Meanwhile, Claressa Shields was still nowhere to be found publicly. No denial, no clarification, no emotion. And that silence, it had now reached a point where it wasn't just noticeable. It was deafening. Because in a moment this loud, silence becomes its own statement, and people were reading it in real time. But then came what insiders are calling the breaking point. Because according to multiple sources, there was a meeting, private, emergency level, lawyers present, management present, and one clear goal: contain this. But here's the problem. You can't contain something that's already everywhere. Because by now, the clips had gone viral across every major platform. The audio, the screenshots, the alleged footage, everything. And once something hits that level, it doesn't go away, it multiplies. And that's exactly what happened. Because during that same window, another leak dropped. And this one wasn't subtle, it was direct. A message thread, clear names partially visible, timestamps aligning with previous leaks, and one line that cut through everything. "I can't keep covering this up." That sentence, it didn't just hit, it confirmed. Because now it wasn't about whether something was being hidden, it was about how long it had been happening, and who had been involved in keeping it quiet. Then came the reaction wave, and this time, it wasn't divided. It was intense. Fans who once defended her, now questioning everything, supporters feeling blindsided, critics feeling validated. And the conversation? It shifted from, "Is this true?" to, "How much of this is true?" Because once belief cracks, it doesn't repair easily. Meanwhile, Tasha K returned one final time. No build-up, no theatrics, just straight to the point. And this time, she didn't play anything. She didn't show anything. She just said one sentence, "They're calling me now." That line? It sent a chill through everything, because they could only mean one thing: lawyers, representatives, not people trying to stop what was already out of control. And when that happens, it usually means one thing: the story is real enough to be dangerous. Then she added something else, something that pushed everything over the edge. I gave them a chance to handle it quietly. That sentence? It flipped the narrative one last time, because now this wasn't just exposure, it was escalation after warning. And warnings ignored lead to fallout, massive fallout. Meanwhile, industry insiders began speaking more openly, off the record, but consistent, saying deals were being paused, calls were being cancelled, appearances being reconsidered, not confirmed publicly, but felt behind the scenes, because perception is everything. And right now, perception was shifting fast. Then came the moment nobody expected. After hours of silence, Claressa Shields finally moved. Not a statement, not a video, a single post, short, direct, and impossible to ignore. "I know who I am. The truth doesn't need noise." That was it. No explanation, no denial, no addressing the specifics, just that. And the internet exploded all over again. Because people didn't know how to read it. Was it confidence? Was it deflection? Was it strength? Or was it avoidance? And that ambiguity? It kept the fire burning, because now, instead of answers, there were more questions, more theories, more debate, and more attention than ever. Meanwhile, another insider dropped one final piece, quietly, almost lost in the chaos, but devastating once noticed. They claimed that what had already been released was only a fraction, that there were still unreleased recordings, longer ones, clearer ones, and that the decision to release them hadn't been made yet. And that detail, it changed everything, because now this story wasn't over. It was paused, hanging in the air, waiting, because if those recordings exist, and if they ever come out, this entire situation could restart from zero. But worse, louder, and far more damaging, because what started as a live stream turned into a leak, then into a confrontation, then into a full-scale unraveling. And now, it's something else entirely. A situation where truth, perception, and silence are all colliding at the same time. And nobody, not fans, not insiders, not even the people involved, knows what the final outcome will be. But one thing is certain, this isn't finished. Because in stories like this, the most explosive moment is never the first one. It's the one that comes after everyone thinks it's over. If you've been watching all the way through, then you already feel it. This isn't just drama. This is something unfolding in real time, and it's getting bigger by the minute. Because what we just covered, that's not the end. That's just what's already surfaced. And if even half of what insiders are hinting at is true, then there are still pieces out there, recordings, messages, receipts, that could drop at any moment and flip this entire story upside down again. So don't just sit back and miss it when it happens. Hit that like button right now, because every like keeps this conversation alive and pushes these stories into the spotlight where they can't be ignored. Jump in the comments and tell me what you think. Are these leaks exposing the truth? Or is there something bigger going on behind the scenes that we still haven't seen? And most importantly, subscribe. Because the second another update drops, and trust me it will, you need to be the first to know. Turn on notifications, stay locked in, and don't look away. Because this story, it's not over. And the next piece of the puzzle might change everything.